Call the roll, please. Wait a minute, let's get once you're here first.
Mr. Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Now we're at ease. All right, proxy folks, do your thing. Afternoon. It is showtime.
Showtime.
Glad to see all of you who are here. First of all, I want to get out of the way. I'm sorry, call the roll, please. Thank you.
You already called the roll.
I already called the roll. Stop confusing me, Scott.
I wasn't here.
Oh. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. What we want to do is this, the bills, some of them are PBI, some of the bills in a block. And so those that are PBI will give the opponents the chance to say something before we do anything at all. I want to make sure at least that everyone will have the opportunity to say something because of how we feel. I'm not going to do y'all like you did me in my house bill. I want you to know that. I'm still hot with the house the way y'all doing me, but I love y'all. I want you to know that. See. First of all, it's the SJ 317. That's my bill, the appointments of the governor. It's been properly moved and seconded that SJ 317 be reported.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chair, I've got a couple of questions. Is there anybody here from the governor's office that can answer a couple of questions about these names?
You don't tell them to come because you kill their bills.
I'm not. I have no intention of killing it. I just want to ask a couple of questions. Want to confirm something.
But what we can do is this: I want to get it out here. But when they come, I'll call them back up.
Let me ask Senator McDougal. Look down on lines. Okay, 48 and 49. Tell me, is that the fellow that was on the Court of Appeals and has he retired? Bobby Humphreys from Virginia Beach. Were these people wanted an interim?
You got it, Senator?
Yeah, staff.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
when it's appropriate, I have a question for our council.
Wait a minute. Let's get this one done first.
Okay.
One at a time. Now,
What Brooks just showed me is that this, we're talking about the Bobby Humphreys who's on the Court of Appeals presently, and the only question I've got is whether a sitting judge is eligible for appointment. If he is, I got no problem with him. I just.
How do we get to that,
Type in
Brooks,
SJ.
do you?
SJ 317.
well, I did on the block.
You gotta go in LIS.
okay.
Not coming up on this.
Okay.
Okay. So what we're gonna do is this: we're gonna hold off on that one. Now,
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I just have one question I'd like council to look at while it's carried over or whatever we're doing. 17.1802 of the Sentencing Commission has very specific people that are supposed to be placed, a certain number of judges, a certain number of others. And according to the resolution, we're replacing Shannon Taylor as a Commonwealth attorney with a sitting judge, and there's spots for judges. I'm just trying to figure out if Humphreys is eligible to replace a Commonwealth attorney or whatever. So if you could look at that while we're offline, appreciate that.
Well, while we're doing that, let's move on, and then when we figure it out, then we'll come back to that. HB one.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
I do believe, I don't know that this particular position, but on the Sentencing Commission, judges are appointed to the Sentencing Commission. So that in and of itself would be appropriate. I don't know if that position is specific that Senator Serville asked. So to Senator Deed's question, yes, that's appropriate. To Senator Servile's question, I don't know.
Okay. Senator Evans, you had a question?
I think I've resolved it, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. So are we in a posture now that we can get this out of here? Or we didn't want to wait? Okay, wait for council. Once the council find out, we'll come back to that. In the meantime, so we want to sit there sitting and waiting. Yes, sir. While so waiting, and what we can do, let's call up. We do have bills that are identical to the Senate bill. First one we have is House Bill 1444. Delegate Ware, is he present?
No, he's not.
Delegate Ware is not present. 1444 is identical to Senate Bill 794. And now, before we make an action, if the delegate is here, I'd like to make sure they have opportunity to say something regardless of what we do with the bill. So he is not here. That for 1444, he's not here. And it's identical to Senate Bill 794. So what's your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. It was the Senate bill, which it was Senate Bill 794 by Senator McDougal, and that bill was PBI.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
I think we should go by temporarily on 1444, 1693, 2234, which are all identical bills, I believe, that were PBI'd until the patrons are present. And I think we ought to get to Delegate Scott, who I think is on the first one who's here on the list.
Well, no. It's House Bill 1693. Is that person here?
No.
That's
Oh, there he is. I'm sorry, I didn't see him there. He's here.
Please come up, sir.
Okay.
1693.
Oh,
Yeah,
Mr.
what
Chairman, I
happened?
want to thank you for,
Wait a minute. 1693 is identical to Senate Bill 1319 by Senator Chase. And that bill was PBI. So my question, do you have anything different or new to add?
well, Mr. Chairman, I wasn't here when she had her testimony,
Yes, sir.
but like you said earlier, I appreciate the opportunity to say something.
Yes, sir.
So if you wouldn't mind, House Bill 1693 would repeal drop boxes in Virginia. And what we found, and I've got some folks that would speak to it, is they're not used very much since we have 45 days of voting. And basically removing drop boxes is not voter suppression. The voter has easier ways to vote their absentee ballots than driving to a drop box. This is an expensive idea that is not needed nor being utilized. In other words, a lot of people aren't using the drop boxes. The data will show, and I've got some folks that'll explain that. And also, you have folks that are getting paid reimbursement for mileage, going around and checking these things, only to find that they're empty. So for that reason and more, I think it will save time, money, and resources. And I hope you will consider that. And I think I've got some folks that might want to say something.
Thank you, sir. Those who will support, would you please come forward? Yes. Now the question is this. A minute apiece, because we have heard the same bill already in Senate Bill. So give me a minute apiece, please.
Thank you, Chairman Sproul.
Yes, ma'am.
I support Delegate McGuire's bill 1693. I have some data from Loudoun County. I'm an election officer from Loudoun County, so I've experienced this firsthand. Out of 290,000 registered voters in Loudoun County, we had 717 ballots put in the drop box last year. We had 4 drop boxes over 45 days, and we had 717 put in the drop boxes. Every one is an absentee ballot. It's postage paid, so the voter can just from their own home put it in a mailbox or their own P.O. box. As well, as Senator McGuire, Delegate McGuire said, they have to have the rovers go pick them up, and the cost of that. And it's easier for them if they're going to drive it to the drop box.
Thank you, ma'am.
They're not going to put it in the mail. They can just vote curbside or
Thank you,
go in and
ma'am.
vote. Thank you, sir.
Next, please. Minute, please.
Clever Wheeler, Albemarle County. I'm a member of the electoral board in Albemarle County, and I would say the same thing. The drop boxes may or may not have been a good thing to do during the height of COVID, but they're no longer being used. Every registrar in Virginia will show you, and they have the data, which has been turned into the Department of Elections, how many drop boxes were recorded in every drop box every day. It requires at least 2 people to go and fetch these ballots and return them. It's time-consuming, it's expensive, and the voters just aren't using them anymore. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Next, please.
My name's Mike Schliga. I'm from Goochland County. And I just wanted to say, as a taxpayer, yeah, we're paying for this. You can just drop your ballot in your own mail slot or any USPS postal box that you feel like. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next, please.
Good afternoon, Chair, members of the committee.
Let me stop for a minute. Then when I ask for those who support something, I noticed we had 2 or 3 standing up, and then they keep going on and on. The last person back, that's the last one. No, the person behind you. That's the last one. So please, when I ask for those support, if you get up and stand in line, I can stand that. But when you have 4 or 5 people in line, then all of a sudden, everybody start getting up. We don't want to do that. So the person behind you is the last one. Thank you, ma'am. Please.
Thank you, Senators. My name is Lindsay Zaya. I'm with the Virginia Institute for Public Policy. I just wanted to provide you with some information that's being handed out on what the current law and policy is on drop boxes. it just mentions at the top that drop boxes are required to be surveilled. The recordings are required to be kept for a certain period of time, and ballots have to be collected from them every day, which just leads to a lot of costs. And I'd ask you to please support this bill to eliminate the drop boxes. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Next, please. 1 minute, please.
Good afternoon. My name is John Ambrose. I'm a member of the Richmond City Electoral Board. I urge your support for this bill. In Richmond's November 2022 election, only 464 ballots were collected from our 3 early voting drop boxes. On 40% of the visits by 2 election officials, no ballots were deposited, and on only 13 trips were there more than 10 ballots, and all of those were at our central office of elections. It seems an inefficient use of staff time and energy. Please
Thank you,
support the
sir.
bill.
Next, please.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, committee members. Melody Clark, and I have lived on the Eastern Shore of Virginia for over 30 years, and it is one of the areas that lacks a lot of funding from the state. This is an expensive proposition that served a purpose, but its purpose is over, and we would ask you to please support this bill. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Is anyone present in opposition?
Thank you, Chair. Committee members, I'm Deb Wake with the League of Women Voters of Virginia. We support the use of drop-off locations and oppose HB 1693. During the pandemic, the drop boxes assisted voters in avoiding contact, and even now the drop boxes are a convenient, secure way to vote. Election officers have acquired them, and following strict guidelines from the Department of Elections, drop-off locations are under surveillance at all times. You can put your completed ballot in a drop box with the confidence it will be counted, and you do not need to stand in any line to do it. So we urge you to vote no.
Thank you so much, ma'am. To the members, House Bill 1693 is identical to Senate Bill 1319, and 1319 was PBI. So,
Substitute motion.
substitute motion.
PBI.
Do I have a second?
Second.
So it's been. Then that's we don't want to have that now. I'm sorry. Okay. So the substitute motion PBI. Open the roll, please.
Ayes 9, noes 6.
Thank you so much, sir.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, thank you for allowing me to
Thank you.
speak.
House Bill 2234.
Waxman's not here.
He's not here. So who's here?
Scott,
Who's that? Scott?
next one.
That PA Scott,
Yeah.
1877. So you would know, so that those who would know, wait a minute, so you would know that these bills, when they're identical bills, we've had the same bill to come forth on the Senate side. So we're having the House side. So when they've been PBI, but still, there could be something different that a member of the House may have. So I want to be sure to give them an opportunity to say what they have to say, just in case it's something different. Yes, sir. How you doing, sir?
I am well, Senator. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for allowing me to speak to the bill. I do appreciate the opportunity for open communication. This is an early voting bill that reduces in-person early voting from 45 days to 2 weeks. The information that we have shows that only, I believe it's 666,000 folks actually utilized early in-person voting total. And so the total amount, and this is 2022, this is just last year, and the total voters that participated were over 3 million. And so it's really not very efficient use of time. I know that we just heard about the drop boxes and how that's a strain on the resources, and also have another handout here that shows by some of the localities how many people actually participated with the early voting. The yellow is beyond the 2 week, or within the 2 week time frame and election day, or just the 2 week time frame, and then the purple is outside of that for the first 30 days of early voting. And as you can see, the majority of folks are actually utilizing the 2 weeks prior to the election. Also, a bill was passed out of this committee and passed out of the Senate, and then we actually heard that bill in the House P&E committee today dealing with special elections and 30 days for a special election. And I understand there's special allowances for the special elections when it comes to early voting, but if we feel that a special election can be handled within 30 days, surely there should be an expectation that a regular election or a primary could be handled within 14 days early voting. And again, it gives the voter more time to be able to understand what's going on with the election.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you so much, sir. Question?
Yeah, brief
Now,
question.
So, to the members now, so I want to make sure we're not having a full-blown, remember, these bills, they're identical to a Senate bill, so we're not going to spend a whole lot of time. Just a courtesy, I want to give the respect to the members of the House to a chance because they have already been PBI, but unless something different, that we should change our mind, so we're not going to do a full-blown bill. Yes, sir.
Just a brief question, Mr. Chair, to the patron, because we're probably not going to get much time to look at that. Could you tell us about what percentage voted in the 2 weeks? Was it 70%, 80%, 60%?
So if we were to take like Richmond City, for example, 25.68% voted in the first 30 days, and then 74.32% voted within the 2 weeks leading up to the election. And so again, the vast majority of folks are utilizing that 2 week time frame. Most folks are taking that first 30 days to really understand what's going on with the election so they can make an educated decision as to which candidate to vote for.
Thank you, sir. Those who are in support, will you please come forward? Do the second the piece. Do the second the piece.
Again, I'm Shelley Oberlander, Loudoun County Election Officer. So we're the ones who actually execute the bills that you all pass. You all are the lawmakers. So we have to do the 45 days of early voting. And there's hardly anyone that comes in the beginning. I've got the data from Loudoun as well. And then it goes up the last 2 weeks. And so for the, just for the exhaustion and the time that's involved with the registrars and the election workers, as well as sometimes you'll have elderly voters get confused. They vote early and then they think they already voted and they forgot they voted and they vote again on election day or later. So it's confusing to the voters. It's also it's exhausting for the workers.
Thank you, ma'am. Next, please.
Reduce the time.
My name is Mike, and again, I speak in support of this bill. As somebody who's gone out there and tried to man the thing for 45 days, I can tell you it's just a lot of struggle for very little voters. 2 weeks seems very reasonable to me. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next, please.
Hi, I'm Lindsay Zay with the Virginia Institute for Public Policy, and I just wanted to reference the charts that the good lady is handing out. They show the early voting, the first 30 days versus the last 2 weeks, just for that information. And in particular, I'd just like to have the body consider that 45 days is an arbitrary number, and maybe we could think about how we could update that based on some actual information of how it's used. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Next, please.
Cyber Wheeler, Albemarle County Electoral Board, and I can tell you that our registrars across Virginia are exhausted. They are dragging. They cannot keep up. By the time they do 45 days of in-person absentee voting, staff it, collect the ballots, et cetera, and then go through the election day process, the certification, the canvass, the provisional canvass, et cetera, they are dead on their feet. They need a break.
Can I ask you a question?
Thank you. Yes, sir.
This morning, I had a bill that will give them some relief from 6 days to 10 days. 10 days, and you said that, and they're exhausted. I believe you supported that. So if they are in support, if they are exhausted, they need more time, and that bill I asked from 6 to 10 days, and that bill was killed. You were there this morning, I believe.
I was there this morning.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Next, please.
John Ambrose, Richmond City Electoral Board. I urge support of this bill. In Richmond, our registrar estimates that each early voting location costs $100,000 to run for 6 weeks. If we reduce that to 2 weeks, we could save $66,000. In our most recent election, only 10% of the votes cast in early voting came in the first 3 weeks. 70% came in the last 2 weeks. Please support this bill.
Thank you so much, sir. Next, please.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, again, I support this bill because of the monetary impact on this bill. We, Virginians, could use this money in other areas. Please support this bill. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. This bill, 1877, is similar to Senator Manduka bill, Senate Bill 880, which was PBI'd. Open for the motion, please.
Wait, Mr. Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
Before you do that, I have actually more recent data. There's a special election going on right now for the 4th Congressional District. We have now had 4 weeks of early voting. As of today, about 27,000 people have voted. Nearly half 15,000 people voted in the first 2 weeks of early voting. So there are a lot of people who like voting early. They like the ability to vote on their schedule and not an arbitrary schedule set 400 years ago.
We have a substitute motion?
Mr. Chairman, may I
Have a
comment?
second? Yes, sir.
I would respond,
30
if I
seconds.
may.
30 seconds, sir. Please.
I would say there's always going to be outliers.
Yes,
And
sir.
I'm looking at averages with this bill. And this piece of legislation that was put in place, 45 days of early voting, was put in during COVID. And those restrictions of COVID are long gone. And even the president has declared that we've moved out of that era. And so I would encourage the support of this bill.
Mr. Chair.
Open the roll, please. It was PBI.
Come on, Pete, you can vote for this.
Come on, come on, come on.
Ayes 9, no 6.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir.
You could have voted for the motion.
Mr. Ware, are you there? Mr. Ware, are you here, please? House Bill 1444.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, this is a proposal to adopt a very simple reform that has been proposed in a number of places and, of course, was the law in Virginia for a while. What my measure does is to restore, and by the way, it's very much reduced from its original and the original description that's there. It does one thing and one thing only. It restores the photo ID requirement for voters participating in Virginia elections, and moreover, it also provides for that small number of citizens who may not possess a photo ID by furnishing local registrars the funding for photo equipment for their office. There are a couple reasons I bring this bill. The first is that the Carter Baker, that is Secretary of State James Baker and President Jimmy Carter, Commission on Election Reform in 2005, which came after the 2000 Florida election and the 2004 Ohio election, which were disputed, came up with a number of proposals. And among the top lines that they said was to call for photo identification along with provisions for acquiring a photo ID for those without. Again, I would say Secretary of State James Baker, a Republican, and President Jimmy Carter, a Democrat. 35 states have some form of requirement. We're by far in the minority on this, and they do it for a number of reasons. One is Americans in overwhelming numbers think this is a good idea. Gallup, the venerable Gallup poll, had its most recent polling in July of 2022, and it shows Americans in general favor this 79% to 21%. Majorities in both major political parties, according to Gallup, also favor this. Probably a few more Republicans than Democrats.
Could we wrap it up, please?
I'll get to, and then that support crosses party lines, color lines, education lines, wealth lines in the Gallup poll. It's the simplest, most basic reform to give people confidence in the outcome of the elections. I ask your consideration.
Thank you, sir. Those in support, please come forward. Those in support, 30 seconds apiece. 30 seconds apiece.
Again, Shelley Oberlander. I'm an election officer who helped carry out the elections for the last several elections and for over 45 days. So I am in support of this. Right, currently the law in Virginia says we don't need an ID at all. Despite the long list that's posted on our tables at the election office, you can come in without any ID at all and sign a little half piece of paper that says, I am who I say I am. It's called ID confirmation. So we need you to be the lawmakers today and make an ID required, preferably a photo ID. You have to have it to go to the doctor, to buy alcohol, to fly a plane. To enter the government building, I had to have an ID.
Thank you.
Please support this bill.
Thank you so much. Next, please.
Good afternoon. I'm Rachel Lawless from the Department of Elections, and the Department of Elections supports this bill for reasons previously described by Commissioner Beals.
Thank you, ma'am. Next, please.
Good afternoon. Melody Clark. As Delegate Ware stated, this bill is supported by over 80% of Virginians regardless of party affiliation, and previous presidents, including President Carter. All registrars already have the equipment on hand for voter IDs for something like this to be implemented. So please support this bill. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Next, please.
Hi, I'm Lindsay Zay with the Virginia Institute for Public Policy. We support this bill and would ask you to please consider voting yes for photo ID so that we can ensure that every voter gets their chance to vote and that they don't have to vote a provisional if anyone would try to impersonate them and vote in their name. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Next, please.
Mike from Goochland. I support this bill. I also support giving out free IDs if somebody needs one to be able to vote. So I think that's an important factor as well. You know, everybody should be able to vote without having to pay. With that said, you know, when people vote against having a photo ID, I just ask you to understand why normal Americans like me have a hard time believing in the integrity of the system when you don't require a photo ID. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next, please.
Clever Wheeler, Albemarle County. I, too, am an election officer and a member of the electoral board. Registrars have the ability to do free photo IDs. They have had it since we first had photo ID in Virginia. Anyone in Virginia who wants a free photo ID to vote can get one. Anyone, no matter where they live or what their circumstances. Everyone should have one. As you have heard me say many times, Andrew Young complimented the general legislators in Atlanta when he was the mayor because he thinks everyone should have a photo ID.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. Anyone in opposition, please come forward. 30 seconds, please.
Deb Wake, League of Women Voters of Virginia. We oppose this bill. It's a false narrative that voters are able to vote without any sort of identification, and this bill it requires the photo ID. It was only required in Virginia for 6 years, and there was no increase in fraud or whatever narratives when other means are available. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. House Bill 1444 is identical to Senate Bill 794, and 794 was PBI. I'm ready for a motion, please.
Substitute motion,
I have a substitute motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Please call the vote on the substitute motion to PBI.
Ayes 9, noes 6.
Ayes 9, no 6. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members.
2234, Wakeman, is it there? Then how about Williams? $22.89, is that right, sir?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right.
So I bring this bill before you today. This is a bill on behalf of the Boys Graves Committee. Yep. And what this does is
You have 4 minutes, sir, please.
Yeah, it's pretty simple.
Mr. Chairman.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
Trying to save us some time.
No.
Oh,
I want to hear what you got to say.
It's identical to mine.
I know. I got it right here. I can spell your name. Surobel.
It's identical to Senator Servel's, and
But I
yeah,
want him
no,
to,
I like the changes.
Hey, wait a minute.
Sorry.
Wait a minute. You want to hear your bill? You're not.
I do.
I'm
want
the
to hear my
chairperson. Let me tell you, not Scott. I'm the chairman. Okay.
bill. Sorry, Senator.
All right, great. Now, I do have, I'm sitting right here that says, since Scott bill is 1431, similar to his bill. I'm looking right at it.
Yes, sir.
What I'm trying to do, but still, even though, but I think it's fair that you should have the opportunity to discuss about your bill. And then I'm gonna let Scott talk what he want to talk. But I want you to say something about your own bill first.
I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
And I like this bill. I think that it clears out a lot of the issues that we've seen with the removal by courts. For example, having a specific form developed by the Supreme Court and knowing and helping people understand why somebody could be removed and what the process is. And then I know that there's been an amendment that I see as friendly, which would allow for the Supreme Court of Virginia to appoint a special prosecutor if the Commonwealth's attorney was the one who was being petitioned for the removal.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now some questions to Senator Scott.
Move to conform the bill to Senator Serval.
All right. It's been properly moved and seconded that we conform the bill to Senator Scott bill, which was Senate Bill 1431. This a voice vote?
Yep.
It's all in favor, use sign by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Ayes have it. Now the conformment. Now, so my question for my with this, if it conform, do you support the conformity of this bill?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Second, the properly moved and second, we report as reformed Senate Bill 2289. Open the roll, please.
Ayes 15, no 0.
15 noes, 0.
Thank you, Senator.
2234, I'm trying to get those out of the way first.
Thank you.
2234, anyone here? 2234? How about 2471? How you pronounce that name? Batten. Thank you so much. How you doing today?
Doing fine. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
I have before you House Bill 2471, which is actually a companion of a Senate bill that passed out of the body unanimously. This bill provides for the removal of a local registrar by the Circuit Court upon petition signed by the majority of the Electoral Board members. Currently, local electoral boards may remove a registrar with a simple majority. This bill also requires the Virginia Division of Risk Management to assign counsel to defend registrars who are subject to petition for removal. This is already the practice for electoral board members who are subject to a petition for removal. But registrars who wish to defend themselves during the process must retain their own attorney. The current policy can allow for abrupt departures and disruption in close proximity to elections, and this bill will add stability to registrars' offices and to the oversight of elections.
Thank you so much. Members from the committee, any question before I call the audience up? If not...
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
I would just ask her the differences between this one and the Mason bill.
1514.
Are they identical or are there differences?
They should be identical. We had a technical amendment on ours that changed it from resides to serves because it clarifies that registrars are not required by law to reside within their locality. They simply serve the locality. So that would be the difference. The intent would be to reconcile those.
Mason's not here.
Counsel, explain.
Mr. Chair,
Wait a minute, listen.
Would it be-
Counsel, will you explain that?
would it be appropriate for us to conform
Wait a
Delegate
minute.
Batten's bill
I
to
want
the
to
Mason
hear what
bill?
counsel has to say first, please.
Mr. Chairman, in the House, they made an amendment to change resides to serves because registrars are allowed to serve a locality adjacent to where they reside. So if we keep it as resides, as it was in Senator Mason's bill, it wouldn't apply to registrars who serve an adjacent locality. So in order to make sure it covers all registrars, serves is the proper term here. So I would recommend we keep the House version. And I know in the House they're going to amend the Senate version to make it like the House version. So then they'll be identical.
Okay.
Chair,
now,
then move to report.
Right now, do I have a second?
I have a second.
Go now, okay. Please open the roll, please.
Ayes 14, no 0.
Ayes
I'm
14,
sorry, noes 1.
1. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee.
Okay. I believe, and I want to go back to, SJ 317, the appointees of the governor. We have heard that those who have some concerns, and I want to have a motion and move this out here, please.
Second.
Proper move a second to report the SJ 317. Please open the roll.
Ayes 15, no 0.
Ayes 15, no 0. We have to turn it over to, so I got to step out. Can you turn it over?
Next we have on the docket, let's see, House Bill 1576 by Delegate Walker. Is he here? I thought I saw him here. Okay, well, next we have Bloxham, 1948.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Welcome, Delegate Bloxham.
I have three bills. 1948 is a bill that actually Senator Evan and I worked on last year, got called in conference. Is it 47 or 48?
48 is the first one on my docket in the order we have it.
That's the absentee ballot. This would require that you put the last four and your birth date on it, but it removes the witness signature. And I think this is the version that we had worked on last year.
Got it. I don't believe we've heard this bill so far this year, committee, so I think we need to take...
It's different from what we heard last year, Mr. Chairman.
I got it. We need to take testimony on it, is my point. So, Delegate Bloxham, you know if there's anybody here in favor of the bill?
Yes, I think there is.
Okay.
Deb Wake, League of Women Voters of Virginia. We support this bill. In the report to the General Assembly, a working group that included election officials and representatives of both major political parties found that the better way to authenticate voters is to require them to provide the birth date and the last 4 digits of their social. The witness verification method is flawed and might not it might prevent a voter to being able to vote if they can't find a witness, particularly if they live alone, including those who are elderly and have disabilities. So we absolutely support this bill. Thank
Great,
you.
thank you.
Cleveland Wheeler, Albemarle County, this is a verification bill which I urge you to support. There's no way to verify a signature. Anybody can sign, say they're anybody. But having the voter put down the last 4 of their social and their birth date certainly is something that's verifiable by the registrar's office. We commend this bill to your acceptance.
Thank you. Who's next?
Denise Harrington, member of the League of Women Voters. I also recommend supporting this bill for the simple reason it's already been mentioned. It is very, very easy to ensure election integrity and security once you have the last 4 of that social and someone's birthday. And often signatures change when someone is 20 years old, 30, 40, etc. And so the best way is through the last 4 of the social and, of course, the birth date. Thank you. I urge you to support this.
Thank you. Is there anybody opposed to the bill? Are you support?
I'm actually supporting the bill if you'll still let me speak,
Go ahead.
so that I can support my friend Deb, because it's so infrequent that we're both on the same side of the page. But we like to have bipartisan support when we can, so I do support this bill.
Great. Is there anybody opposed to the bill?
Mr. Chairman?
Doug Block. Senator Eben.
Yeah, I wanted to ask first the delegate a question. On line 15, it says, and shall require at a minimum the voter's printed name and date of birth and the last 4 digits of a social security number. What does that mean at a minimum? You're allowing local boards to ask for more information?
No, but they would have to have that in order for the ballot to be valid, those 2 items.
Why are the words at a minimum included, if you don't mind my asking? I don't know what they add to the bill or mean.
Mr. Chairman.
On line 15.
Hold on a second. You're on line 15?
Of 1948?
I'm not seeing
It
that.
says, the bill I have in front of me says 1947.
No, that's 1947 is a bill that you won't like. 1948 is the bill that we had last year that you will like.
Right, we're on 48 right now.
Okay, and does this...
Senator Eben.
Does this bill allow an option where they can, they can have a witness, or they can submit the last 4 of their social, or does this require the last 4 of their social?
Last 4 of the social and the birth date, and there's also a provision in here for people that do not have social security numbers. They have the identification number. They can use that, but no, it removes the witness signature altogether.
Yeah.
Senator McClellan.
Sorry, I don't have...
Senator Eben, you done?
No.
Okay, Senator Eben.
My understanding was that the bipartisan working group from several years ago had required or come up with the idea that this would be an option in place of a witness signature, but this does not allow for a witness signature instead, does it?
No, sir.
Okay.
You done, Senator Eben?
Yes. This is the only information that the registrar actually has to be able to verify the voter on file.
Okay. Senator McClellan. Well, Senator McDougal was next. You good?
You took care of my...
Okay. Senator McClellan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Would the date and the last 4 of the social be on the outside of the envelope or inside the envelope?
I think it's on the inside on the ballot itself. Is it on both?
It's not on the ballot.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's on the ballot security envelope, which has the voter's name, address, the voter signs the envelope, but instead of a witness signature now with this bill, the voter would be required to put the last 4 and the date of birth, but it's on the face of the security envelope. It's not on the mailing envelope.
Not on the outside.
Right. So I believe it goes on the envelope, then it goes inside of another envelope, so
Yes.
you can't see that
Yes, sir.
information when
Okay.
you mail
Yes,
it.
sir, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr.
Okay.
Chair.
Thank you. Any other questions from the committee? Is there a motion on the bill?
Move to report.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded that we report House Bill 1948. Clerk will open the roll.
Ayes 12, noes 3.
Got that.
Ayes 13, noes 2.
Thank you. Doug Bloxham, the next one I have up for you on this part of the docket is House Bill 2443, which certificates of election persons elected by write-in votes, exception for certain localities.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. This bill has been the custom and practice in small towns for as long as I know. We were advised in this last election that the next man up was not the proper way to do it, so an office would be empty. So in small town elections, you have a lot of write-in votes. And if you call someone up and say, congratulations, Joe, you're the mayor, and he goes, absolutely not, and hangs up the phone, the next man would just fall in line. Most of these towns on the Eastern Shore, I've got 17 incorporated towns. Most of them are 200, 300, 400 people. All these elections basically are neighbors just, with a poster board is all this is. And that's why it's limited to towns less than 4,000. That would be, and the only reason we went to 4,000 is to catch the larger town on the Eastern Shore. And that's really just, it's custom and practice that we've been doing forever. So we're just trying to make it legal for them to do what they had been doing.
But,
Senator Deeds.
Mr. Chair, the term locality would certainly include more than towns.
Yes, but the limiting factor is the 4,000.
And Mr. Chair,
Senator Deeds.
You're aware that there's one county in Virginia with less than 4,000.
And if they had write-in votes and someone declined then this would apply.
Senator Deeds, you done?
Yeah, I'm done.
I have a question for you, Delegate Bloxham. What's the population of the town of Bloxham?
About 300.
And you're carrying this bill. All right.
Allen is about 23.
Okay. Are there any other questions to the patron? Okay. All those in favor of the bill? Is there anybody in favor of the bill? Is there anybody opposed to the bill? Is there a motion on the bill? It's been moved and seconded that we report House Bill 2443. Clerk will open the roll.
Ayes 15, no zero.
Thank you. Doug Bloxham, you have one more bill.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. We can take care of this really quick.
Yeah, I'm sure how optimistic you are about this.
No, this is
so now we're going to House Bill 1947, absentee voting, annual absentee voter list.
Right. Same bill that you saw last year. Of course, I didn't have any data from last year, but there were about 2.3% of the absentee ballots were sent out, were returned. And that's the only reason I brought this bill back. But I understand that this bill has a short life, so you can entertain a motion if you'd like to.
Great. Well, okay, hold on a second. Hold on. Council, we didn't hear this bill before, did we? Was this part of another bill we heard?
Mr. Chair, yes, we heard this bill, I believe, earlier this year.
That's what I thought, but it might have been part of another bill.
But we also heard it last year, yeah.
Okay, all right. I'm just trying to figure out if we need to take public testimony or not. It doesn't sound like you're asking for it. So there's been a motion to report. It's been seconded. Is there any other motions?
Second.
Okay, it's been substitute motion, the PBI, the bill. It's been seconded. Clerk will open the roll.
Ayes 9, no 6.
Thank you, Doug Bloxham. Okay, next I've got on here is, Walker's back? Yeah, I called him up. All right, let's do.
Chairman of the committee out there, too. Chairman of the House.
Oh, yeah, well, you know what? Yeah, why don't we do a committee chairman first? That's what we usually do. We're nice to committee chairman. Delegate Ranson, why don't we do House Bill 1680? She's also a little coffee today, so let's.
Oh, yeah, no, not many people want to be around me, right?
Right.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I have House Bill 1680. This is related to same-day registration and voting, and what this bill attempts to do is direct the Department of Elections to develop guidelines for the registrars in handling same-day registration and voting, and what it would do is include an affirmation for the applicant, so that the applicant understands the penalties for making a false statement. But currently, when you come in and you register on that day and you vote, your ballot is going in with the provisional ballot. So what we would like to see is the Department of Elections create, first you have the affirmation, you register to vote, but you will actually have a same-day registration envelope, so that once they begin to go back and start counting, you'll have a provisional ballot envelope, but then you'll also have a same-day registration envelope, so that things can be separated once they start going through that process of counting. So I hope it I'm happy to answer any questions.
Delegate, so I guess your concern is that, for example, somebody could vote early in another locality and then same day register somewhere in a different locality and vote twice in the same election.
Well, or maybe they registered to vote absentee and they're not sure if their absentee ballot got in, and they wanted to make sure they registered, they voted in another place. I'm not at all insinuating that they intentionally wanted to vote or meant to vote twice in an election, but we just want to make sure that we're covering all of our bases, and that day they have the folks that are working the elections are able to separate that person's name, and whoever's coming in to register does understand what the law means when they sign up to register to vote, and then we are keeping those ballots separated from the provisional and then the same day registration and that vote.
Mr. Chair.
Senator Deeds.
This was just became the law last year.
It did.
And they are provisional ballots. Was there any evidence that there were people whose ballots, who same-day voted, were either trying to vote more than once, or they were voting in different jurisdictions?
Mr. Chairman, Senator Deeds, I do not have that information. I don't know if there's anyone from the Commissioner's office or the Attorney General's office. Again, I'm not bringing this out of an accusatory reaction or anything like that. But like you said, it just started last year, and really there was not a process set up in place to receive the folks that were coming in to register on the same day and then vote. So what this bill is suggesting is that the Department of Elections come up with that process for the registrars and the folks that are working inside.
Well, Senator Deeds. Mr. Chair, a fellow jumped up as soon as I asked a question, so I'm hoping if there were problems, you can tell us which Commonwealth's attorney got that report, how that prosecution's going. Okay? I don't want to hear about innuendo. I want to hear about facts. Okay. If you think you have them.
Certainly. And I'm not bringing this bill because I felt like there was something. I just want a process in place to make it easier.
Okay,
Thank
so
you.
hold on. Before we get to that, sir, before we get to you, we do testimony and support. I have another question for Delegate Ranson.
Mhm.
So you said here that this requires the registrar to separate the ballots that are cast the same day. I don't see that language. I see here it talks about procedures for handling and counting, but it doesn't seem to me to prescribe the actual separation of same-day votes. Is that right?
So what this does is send this to the Department of Elections to have them come up with a process.
Okay, got it.
Yes.
All right. So why don't we take testimony in favor and opposed? I don't think we've heard this before, so let's put a 5-minute timer on support and opposition, Obi. So those in support, maybe you can answer Senator Deeds' question with facts.
My name is John Ambrose. I'm currently a member of the Richmond Electoral Board. Last year, during the provisional ballot hearing, I was an authorized representative. There were 4 cases of people whose provisional ballots, on research by the election office, had previously voted. They were referred to the Commonwealth's attorney. I do not know what the status of that referral is.
Mr. Chair, were they early voters?
Senator
No, this was...
Were they people that registered on the same day?
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else in support of the bill?
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, David Bailey here on behalf of the voter registrars of Virginia who worked with Delegate Ranson on this bill. And I think the portion of the bill that we think would be extremely helpful is on line 17, where there would be procedures for the handling and counting of ballots cast by persons and so forth, that it would be something uniform. I'm not here to testify and say that they were handled in one way or another way by different registrars, but the registrars wanted some uniform procedures, and we thank the delegate for bringing the bill, and we encourage your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bailey. Is there anybody else in support of the bill? Okay. Okay, can we reset the timer? Anybody opposed to the bill?
Hi, Deb Wake, Legal League of Women Voters of Virginia. We think that the bill is both redundant and would intimidate voters. It's redundant because anyone who seeks to register at any time must complete and sign the standard voter registration application form before getting a ballot, and it already contains a clear warning, and I quote, "Intentionally voting more than once in an election or making a materially false statement on this form constitutes the crime of election fraud, which is punishable under Virginia law as a felony. Violators may be sentenced up to 10 years in prison or up to 12 months in jail and or fined up to $2,500. When same-day voter registration was implemented for the 2022 general election, thousands of eligible voters were able to register to vote and cast their ballots without incident. Because the newly registered voters cast their ballots provisionally, the registrars were able to verify the voters, weeding out any who were, for example, voting in the wrong precinct, and imposing a duplicative affirmation is intimidating without serving a useful purpose. Same-day voter registration is an overall success and should not be discouraged. Thank you.
Thank you. Is anybody else in opposition to the bill?
Move to report.
Hold on a second. Any other, Doug Rance, you want to wrap up?
Mr. Chairman, I'm not trying to discourage a same-day registration by any means. I think it's important that we open up the process. It's here, but I also think it's important that we have a process for the registrars to work through. And if folks are coming in, that they understand what's going on, and we have the registrars and the folks that are working inside are able to check the voter status.
Mr. Chair.
Senator McClellan.
I think we just heard from the witness from the League of Women Voters that there already is a process in place. We heard from the Richard Registrar that they used a process, and voters are already informed on the ballot that of the possibility of committing voter fraud, and I think this bill is unnecessary, and therefore I would very gently move to PBI it.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved. Yeah, it's a substitute motion. Yeah. Okay, the clerk will open the roll.
Ayes 9, no 6.
Thank you, Doug Ranson. You have another one?
I've got two more. Do you want me
Okay,
to
hold
go
on a
through
second. Let me
those?
see where you are on here. Oh, I see. 1683. Yeah, okay. 1683, voter registration, final day registration, notice requirements.
Okay. This bill was brought first by two of my rural localities, and it's referencing advertising in the newspaper. You'll see I bring bills like this a lot because where I live, I represent six counties. We do not have newspapers where I live that are circulated to our boxes, to a newspaper box. For example, the Richmond Times, or further to the north, I have the Freelance Star. They do not deliver to us anymore. So in the law, it states that a registrar has to advertise in a newspaper of general circulation 10 days, the last date that you can register to vote. So two of my registrars asked, and it costs them money to advertise in the newspaper, the registrar's office, anywhere from $700 to $1,200. So their request was, can we change that? And you'll notice on line 15, it says, if one is available. So if you live in Southwest Virginia or middle western part of Virginia, if you have a newspaper available and it is circulated to your mailbox, you must advertise. So this just allows the registrars the option to publish an ad in the newspaper, giving notice of the final dates of registration. Again, I would just say there are some parts of the rural areas where we do not have a delivery of a newspaper to our mailbox. It may go to a gas station or Sheets or the local, Get and Zip, but we cannot get delivery to us.
Any questions to the patron?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Eben.
So you're saying that if the mailbox isn't delivered to the home, it doesn't count, but if it's for sale in the community, that doesn't count as a way to inform people?
No, it has to be directly to the person because you really don't know who's picking it up.
Because the
Senator
law,
Eben.
Mr. Chairman, the law says or a newspaper of general circulation, which to me doesn't mean it's delivered to every home, but you're saying you would like it if it's not delivered to every home, to not have to advertise?
Mr. Chairman, that's how the law would read. Yes. So, but if one is available to the general circulation, so in code, general circulation would mean that it's going to the person's home.
Mr. Chairman?
Senator Evan.
Is that general circulation term defined in the code? Maybe Brooks knows?
Mr. Chairman, Senator Evan, yes. So general circulation is defined in 8.01-324 of the code. And that applies to everywhere in the code. It's a rather long definition, but it includes having a bona fide list of paying subscribers, having been published and circulated and printed from at least once a week for the last 50 of the preceding 52 weeks, providing general news coverage of the area in which the notice is required to be published, being printed in the English language, and having a periodicals mailing permit issued by the United States Postal Service.
Thank you.
Any other questions to the patron? No other questions? Is there anybody in support of the bill?
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, David Bailey with the Voter Registrars of Virginia. Many of the registrars are in urban areas, but they support their sisters and their brothers who are serving in rural areas and feel that this is a reasonable bill. The amendments that were made improved the bill, and we encourage you to support it.
Thank you, Mr. Bailey. Is there anybody else in support of the bill? Is there anybody in opposition to the bill?
My name's Mike. I'm from Goochland. I guess my concern with this bill is what it seems like we're going to have in the future is some voters in some counties get this fine notice in the paper and other voters get nothing. How can we have an election system where you treat different voters in different areas differently? And we do this a lot in the state of Virginia. And I'm going to tell you that I think it's, quite frankly, against the 14th Amendment, and I think it's un-American. Thank you.
Thank you. Just note for you, sir, that it does have to be posted on the website of the county. Is there anybody else in opposition to the bill?
Mr. Chair, can I ask a question to that
Senator McClellan.
point? And I don't know if this would be to Mr. Bailey, but do all of the registrars have a website? For all localities?
Yeah, Mr. Bailey. Have an answer for us?
Mr. Chairman, Senator McClellan, I am not fully aware, but I'm thinking that in their jurisdictions that the counties would have websites. If I stand to be corrected, but I don't know of any. But sorry that I couldn't be more specific.
Senator McClellan, it's my recollection, this came up in a prior committee a couple years ago. There's like a couple towns that don't have websites, but I think every county and every city has one. That's it.
So I guess
Senator McClellan.
So Mr. and this is for the patron. So basically, under this bill, the only localities that would not have to publish in the newspaper are those localities that don't have a newspaper.
Mr. Chairman, Senator, that is correct. It says if one is available, you must publish an ad. And if it were up to me, I would love for my localities to have a functioning paper and everyone would subscribe to it, but they can't seem to succeed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Are there any other questions of the patron? Okay, it's been moved and seconded the bill be reported. Clerk will open the roll.
Ayes 13, noes 2.
Bill reports. Delegate Ranson, I think you have one more, which is House Bill 1793.
Yes.
Looks like this one passed on a tight vote.
It did.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, this is House Bill 1793, and it's related to the voter information that can be updated at DMV. In 2020, the law was changed so that when you go to DMV and you conduct a transaction, you need to opt out. And this happens. Different states do it different way. That where some states do it in the front end of your transaction, some states do it in the back end of your transaction. At least the states that have chosen to involve themselves in voter information. Our state has chosen to do it in the front end of your transaction. So when you go to DMV to update your, let's just say your tag, your license plate, You go through a series of 17 screens before you even begin your DMV transaction. And I've had issues with some of my constituents where they've actually, by accident, changed their voter information. It's changed their physical address. It has actually changed where they don't want to vote anymore. It changed their P.O. box. So what this bill does is change us from an opt-in to an opt-out status, the way that we were in the beginning. Another problem that we've had across the state is with farm workers. We have a lot of agriculture and farm workers here, and they have accidentally signed in to be a voter, and this has caused some problems that we've had to fix as well. So that, in a nutshell, explains.
Thank you. Any questions to the patron? All right. What's the testimony going to be like on this? Why don't we put 5 minutes on just to be safe? Is there anybody in support of the bill? You get 5 minutes for everybody, so the more you talk, the more people behind you can't talk. Go
Okay,
ahead.
Shelley Oberlander, Loudoun County Election Officer. This is just a good common sense bill. Nobody should be caused to opt in for something without intentionally doing so. This gives the person, the voter, the option of voting in. We've had trouble with DMV in the past of kind of last year election cycle dumping a lot of things on the registrars at the last minute. And so also when you're coming to get established in this country and you're getting a driver's license, you don't want to just accidentally opt in for it and not knowingly and possibly not be a citizen yet. So just let people make the choice to opt in. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Albemarle County, Charlottesville Election Board, Clarabelle Wheeler. There have been many people, in fact, a member of your board's former county residents, a gentleman registered his truck in Bath County. His voting registration was in Fairfax, but he had a farm in Bath. And when he went in to vote in Fairfax, he couldn't vote because the DMV had moved his registration to where he registered his truck. I don't think I should tell you his name. There's a lot of confusion. There have been electoral board members as well as registrars who have had their voting registrations changed because of the previous. This would help clarify that.
Right, Ms. Wheeler, question for you though.
Yes,
Wouldn't you agree that same-day registration saves those people if they go to the wrong polling place and their address got changed, they didn't realize that they could register on the same day in the place where they thought they should be registered?
They might.
Right.
I can't say definitively.
Okay, thanks.
Hi, Martha Cohen. Definitely think that you should have to opt in because we moved here a few years ago and we had no idea we were registering. We wanted to go to the registrar ourselves. And we've heard a lot of other people that we know that didn't know that they were being registered either. You should know what you're doing. You should know absolutely that that's happening. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else in support? Okay, hope you can reset the timer. All those that oppose the bill, please come up.
Deb Wake, League of Women Voters of Virginia. We urge you to vote no on this bill. It would require voters to request affirmatively that DMV submit their information to the Department of Elections. And currently, the DMV sends the voter information directly to the Department of Elections, and the process should be retained, as it not only encourages voters to exercise their right to vote, but also helps ensure that the voters' information, such as their correct residence, is updated in Virginia's voter registration system. Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah. Senator Boysko.
Thank you. Question for the League of Women Voters or for the patron. Do you have any, we've heard some anecdotal information about people who have inadvertently, this hasn't worked out well. I would be interested if anybody has data on how many people have registered to vote successfully through the motor voter program since 2020. I would hazard that it's probably a very large number, but I'd be interested to hear from you all.
Does anybody know? Is there anybody from the Department of Elections here can answer? Come on up.
Rachel Lawless from the Department of Elections. We do have available data, not that is compiled, but per year, and it's listed in our post-election report. I didn't have time to pull that up right now, but it is listed on our website
who those registration numbers and where they're coming from. So if you give me a second, I can pull it up for the previous year, but I don't know those numbers off the top of my head.
Okay. Senator Boysko, any other questions?
Mr. Chairman
Yeah, Delegate Ranson.
and Senator Boysko, so this is not doing away with folks registering. We're just making it an opt-out. So you can still register, you can change your information. You're just not doing it on the front end.
Right.
You can still do everything that you want to do at DMV.
Right. Could the rep from the Board of Elections come back up really quick? I'm sorry, I've forgotten your name, or I would have.
Rachel Lawless.
Ms. Lawless, I have a quick question for you.
Sure.
So, isn't it accurate to say that if somebody's information is changed after they go through the DMV process and they've either registered to vote or their address has changed, don't they get some kind of communication within the next 30 to 60 days from their local electoral board with an updated voter registration card or something documenting that they've registered to vote at a certain address?
Yes.
Right. So at that time, wouldn't they be, if they opened their mail and saw it, if they realized they didn't mean to register to vote or their address got moved, they could go back and try and fix that, assuming the election wasn't within the time frame they didn't get of the notification?
Correct, through Citizen Portal.
Right. Okay. Thanks. Get any answers to our questions yet, by the way? You didn't have enough time. Okay. I guess you didn't have enough time yet. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. I think that was it for the opposition. Delegate Ranson, do you want to have the last word?
I hope you'll approve this bill.
It's been moved and seconded. The bill be reported. Are there any other motions?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. The bill, substitute motion, move bill be PBI. The clerk will open the roll.
Ayes 9, noes 6.
Okay. Thank you, Delegate Ranson.
Thank you, and thank you for allowing the patrons to present their bills and their testimony.
Sure. Thank you. And hope you're feeling better.
I do feel a lot better.
Senator Spruill, where we were is we've knocked out a bunch of stuff while you're gone. I believe the next person in the order on the docket who is here is Delegate Walker, who had House Bill 1576. If you want to take back over.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. How you doing, sir?
Hey, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, I'm on the committee across the street over here, or across the hall. So I have HB 1574. Is that? Oops, I'm sorry. All right, 76. Well, let me ask you this, Mr. Chairman. Can I do 1574 because that's the election opportunities? 1576 deals with the locality of Lynchburg.
Okay.
Is that possible?
Which one you want to do first?
All right, 1574.
Let's do 1574.
All right, if we could do that one first, I appreciate it. Thank you. 1564 seeks to allow the governing body.
I thought you said 74.
I'm sorry. HB 1574.
Okay, that's one. You got it.
Yes, sir. I apologize. The numbers are real close here on these two bills here. Okay, HB 1574 seeks to allow the governing bodies of a county, city, or town to file a petition with the circuit court asking that a referendum be held on the question of whether the members of a school board of a locality shall be elected directly by the voters. Right now, only about 15 localities in the Commonwealth remain that still have appointed school boards. Transitioning to elected school boards in Virginia has received broad support over the last several years, with the ACLU and NAACP supporting these measures to have elected school boards, and most recently, VACO and VML testified on behalf of this bill in the House committee. Right now, the Virginia law says that transitioning to elected school boards, a petition must be circulated that includes at least 10% of the registered voters in the locality. A local government cannot, according to the Code of Virginia, petition for a charter change regarding this matter. This bill does not mandate that localities transition to elected school board. It merely gives the tool and the tool belt for local governments to transition if they desire. Like most meal taxes, this would be allow the local governing body to petition the court to place it on the ballot ballot. Localities that, like this, appointed school boards can keep their appointed school boards. My bill simply gives another option by which the remaining localities can place this measure on the ballot so that the transition to elected school boards through a less burdensome process.
Thank you
That's
so
the bill in
much.
simple.
Thanks so
Thank you,
much.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes,
Mr.
sir.
Chair. So now this can only happen on petition from the people, and you would be you'd be basically taking the side of the governing body. If there's a dispute between the governing body and the school board, this gives the governing body the wedge.
Yes, sir. It's still left up to the voters in the end. It's just another option that the court allows for the school boards, for election, besides referendum.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Before I call on the public, any other comments? If not, anyone here to support of this bill, please? A minute apiece, please.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Jeremy Bennett, representing the Virginia Association of Counties. This is, as the delegate stated, this is another tool in the toolbox of local government. There's only a handful of counties that still have appointed school boards, and this just gives them another tool. So, for those reasons, we support.
Thank you, sir. Next, please.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Josette Bulova with the Virginia Municipal League. We thank the patron for the local option and flexibility that this provides. We also support the bill. Thank you.
Ma'am. Anyone else in support? Anyone present in opposition? Yes, sir. A minute apiece, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Charlie Waddell. I live in historic Hanover County. I wish to oppose the bill. The process is in place to democratically put it on the ballot. This takes it away from the citizens and gives it to the supervisors. Please, PBI, if you insist on passing it, please make it unanimous on the Board of Supervisors to get this initiative on the ballot.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Next, please.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Alan Siebert, Roanoke City Public Schools. Our school board has a cornerstone of its legislative priorities positions, which is local control. We respect that.
Excuse me, sir. Where is your school board?
Roanoke City Public Schools.
Roanoke City. Thank you,
yes,
sir.
Sorry. We respect that localities are unique and have no objection to a locality seeking to change its own rules. Our board does object to changes done to us. This effort is for all localities. The fact that only a small number of localities have appointed boards proves that the existing process works, where citizens can make the change if they so choose. The current system empowers citizens. Please PBI, or maybe give the patron opportunity to narrow it to one locality. And because it's a change to 22.1, maybe it could go to Senate Ed and Health. This tool is currently in the hands of citizens and should remain there.
Thank you, Mr. Sister. Now, to the members, this bill did pass the House 88 to 17.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chairman. Yes, sir. Correct, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, ma'am. Who called me? I'm sorry. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For the question for the patron, let me make sure that I understand what you're proposing here. Now, a local group of people who live in the locality, if they want to appeal and have a referendum to remove a school board member, it's up to the individual.
No, ma'am.
This is about election, whether appointed or elected.
It's about.
Yeah, it's not removing anybody.
Okay, can you just
on the school
repeat
board.
what it, because I was hearing something different. So that's why I asked the question.
Okay, Mr.
Yes,
Chairman,
sir.
may I respond?
Yes, sir.
So what this bill actually does, we go to the court, it's supermajority. I think the gentleman brought up a question here. It's a supermajority of the elected officials. So whether it's a city or county supervisors then, they could petition the court for a referendum. The voters would have to vote on that referendum at the next election. So it's the voters that are going to make that final decision there. This is just a means by which to get it on the ballot. I don't know if that answered your question.
Were you through, Bosco, was through? Yes, yes, sir.
Mr. Chair, I think I can explain it a little better.
Yes,
so
sir.
currently, there are 15 localities that do not have elected school boards. The citizens of those localities can get signatures to petition to have a referendum to elect school boards. They have to get 10% of the population. That is the process currently in place. And this bill, as I read it, does not require a supermajority. It says on line 22, upon a majority vote of its members of a board of supervisors or a city council or town council, can then file the petition with the circuit court and request a referendum. So it's the second way to get a referendum
Right,
on whether or
majority.
not you have an elected school.
Wait a minute, let me finish, let me do one at a time.
And so
Maybe
I
I got
think
hearing aids
that,
in, when y'all talk like that, you confuse my hearing aids. Let me hear one at a time, please.
and so, Mr. Chairman, I think that is the explanation of the bill. It is a separate way to get a referendum to have elected school boards. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Well, consistent with the patron's explanation that it did require supermajority, I would move that we amend the bill on line 22 to, after the word upon, then upon a 4/5 vote of its members.
Second. I'm acceptable to that.
So have it properly move and second the amendment. All in favor, use the sign saying aye?
Aye.
All opposed?
Mr. Chairman.
Wait a minute, Mr. Walker, you agree to that, right?
So I'm in agreement with Senator Dees as far as.
Thank you, sir. That's done. Yes, sir.
I have another, McDougal has a question. I have a quick legal question for council, or maybe the patron can answer this.
Ask his question, not a comment.
Okay. This says that the governing body of any county, city, or town. I'm not aware of any town that has a school board. Is that, I think the school board.
West Point.
There's one, two. Okay, never mind. Okay, so we do need to have town authority in there. Okay,
I think so. That was what the legal.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I don't have a question, I'm just going to speak against the bill. I think Senator Deeds made it better. I think this is a provision that should be left to the people. Hanover County, we had this process. The citizens got 10%. It went to a ballot, and after that referendum, it was decided that we wanted to have our school board to be appointed. And we've been in that process. Candidly, and y'all might disagree with this, but we think it's great, Hanover was the only school system that was in operation during the pandemic. Our kids went to school in person because that's what we decided. I do not want this given to the Board of Supervisors. The citizens should have this decision. And I don't like the fact that we're now going to bypass the citizens when they have the ability to make this choice now. Certainly it's effort, and it can be done, but it's the same effort that is required in order to remove a school board member as well. Getting a 10% of the registered voters is not that onerous if you want to change the system. So I hope that the committee members would not support this measure.
Mr. Chair.
Wait a minute. Yes, Senator McCullough, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Delegate Walker, under your bill, though, the citizens ultimately would get to make the decision, because what is happening is the Board of Supervisors is putting it to the voters on a referendum, and the change will only happen if a majority of the voters vote to make the change. Is that correct?
That's correct, Senator McCullough.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
So
It's the voters, at the end of the day, make the decision.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, now.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, and again, I'm sorry to be asking so many, but would this be the only way could they go and do a regular referendum without having the Board of Supervisors bring it up? This would be a second avenue, correct? And they would still have to.
Mr. Chairman, yes, Senator Blasco, this would be another option, correct.
Okay, now, are all minds clear before I call for motion? Any more questions? Are all minds, wait a minute, are all minds clear? Now I'm ready for motion.
Move to PBI.
All right, substitute motion.
Second.
Report. The proper substitute motion is to report in the second. Please open the roll. You just fix it? So you.
That would change it.
Okay, strike it, please. Okay, let's do it again, please. Open roll. Yes, it's yes. I'm not gonna change no more. What's the vote? What's the vote? Please. Well, what's the vote?
Senator, are you sure about Senator Ruff?
Mr. Chairman?
Ayes 8, no 6, one
Ayes
abstention.
8, no 6. Sir, the bill is approved. Bless your heart.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr.
Now
Walker.
we can move to the next bill because then that instructs the
Mr.
locality
Walker,
now.
now do you agree that I do things different? Do you agree that now do things different?
I have no questions of how you conduct your business,
Bless
Senator
your heart.
Sproul.
Bless your heart. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And I'll keep that in mind when you come before our committee.
Oh, bless your heart. Lord Jesus, thank you.
Oh, my. I better not press my luck here.
What's the next one?
So are we able to take up the next bill?
What is that number?
And that is going to be HB 576.
576.
1576.
1576.
1576.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
All right, so this bill now that the other bill has passed comes at the request of the city of Lynchburg. This bill merely sets the staggering members' election and structure of the school board of the city of Lynchburg should the transition from appointed to elected school board. Right now, the current school board does not meet the same term length the district representative terms in other localities. My bill would conform the Lynchburg City School Board if the transition to elected board to a staggering structure that the City Council already observes. So in the City of Lynchburg, we have 3 regions. Every 3 years, these individuals are appointed. The City of Lynchburg has ward elections and at-large elections. So this would line them up with the city elections so they're not having City Council and school board elections at separate times here. All these measures would pass unanimously through the General Assembly in 1994, 2010, and 2011. This bill is just a housekeeping, and I hope that you'll consider passing this bill.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I have a question on line 17.
Who's speaking, please?
Senator Eben.
Thank you so much.
I have a question for the patron. On line 17, it says the election of one member from each of the 3 at-large districts. Is that accurate, or is there one at-large electorate? Because I don't know how you have 3 separate at-large districts.
Okay, so at large right now, we have 3 members that are at large every 4 years. And our wards, we have 4 wards, so those are up every staggered 2 years. So the school board would fall in line with the terms here of the city ward election.
Mr. Chairman, if I could follow up with council, it's not clear why it would say one member from each of the 3 at-large districts. Is there another way to word that would make it clear that they're elected at large rather from a district?
Mr. Chairman, Senator Eben, could you point me to the line you're looking
Line
at?
17,
Where's the 4 wards in the elections?
where it says one member from each of the 3 at-large districts, because a district shouldn't be at large. It's either a district or it is at large.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
we might
sir.
be able to, Senator Eben, we might be able to say something like, and the election of one member from each of the 3 at-large seats?
Seats would be.
Would that be better?
Each, okay.
I don't know if that's the exact wording, but if that's the spirit of what I was getting at, I don't know if the patron would find that friendly. But I don't think you have 3 separate at-large districts. Rather, you have 3 at-large seats that you're rotating the election of.
Senator Sproul. Okay, if I could respond to you directly, Senator Evans. Yes, I'd be fine with that as far as changing that word.
I would
Okay.
make that motion if that's.
Please make the motion again,
This
please.
is- The motion would be that if perhaps Brooks could fine tune it, but one member from each of the 3 at-large seats on line 17.
Do I have a second? Do I have a second? The second, the proper motion second to change. All in favor, use the sign saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you, sir. All right. Question from the members committee.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
I guess I don't understand why all the school board members would not be elected at the same time. I mean, y'all, right now, it looks like mine are going to be forced to be had. We're all our supervisors at the same time. Why doesn't everybody stand for election at the same time?
Mr. Chair,
Well, wait a minute, let him finish. I want to cut the matter off.
I'm going to help him.
Wait a minute, let him ask for help.
Well, that's my question. Why wouldn't they all be at the same time?
All right, so help him out.
So, Mr. Chair, I think you want to have some seniority, some expertise, and some knowledge on the school board. And if you have an entirely new school board all elected at the same time, all learning for the first time about how the school system works, you're going to give all the power to the administration, the superintendent, and the school board, and the public school staff, because there will be no public policy maker who would be up to speed to understand how the school system works. And we've seen that in areas where you have very junior school board members who inadvertently become overly dependent on the school administration. And I think what you want is an independent school board of policymakers who can make their own decisions. There's no formal training, unfortunately, for school board members. You need somebody who has some expertise on how the school system works other than the superintendent.
Thank you. Case in point was the city of Chesapeake just had an election, and the 5 seats were up. All 5 were gone. So, but I'm glad, but we had the 4 who have some experience that could help. They're the young folks who are on. They're doing a great job, but with the experience of those who were left, to give them some guidance on what to do. So that was very helpful that the 4, we have stagnant terms in Chesapeake. We do that so in case we get a new clean sweep like we did this term, the 4 that was left, they were able to help the new people out. All right, now, before I called from the public, any other question from the members committee? Anyone in the audience in support of this bill, please? Anyone in support? Anyone in opposition? Okay, no support or opposition. We open for a motion, please.
Second.
As amended, right? It's been properly moved and second report as amended. Open the roll, please.
Ayes 13, noes 1, 1 abstention.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Appreciate it.
You on a roll? You got another one?
No, sir. That's enough for today.
Oh, bless your heart. Thank you so much. Okay. I asked the lady who this, ma'am, what was her name again? Please come up. Yes. Yeah. You were sitting there. I said, is she a delegate? I've been there so long. I apologize. I didn't know you were a delegate or not. So thank you. How you doing?
I'm good, sir. How are you doing?
What you got, ma'am?
So before you today, I have House Bill 2454, but I must say that I have a substitute that should be listed in LIS. It doesn't change the bill. It just simply adds a delayed enactment, which was at the request of the Department of Elections.
Do we have that? Do we have that substitute, that amendment? Do we have that somewhere, Brooks?
Mr. Chair, give me one moment to pull it up. I can read it in. Okay. Yeah, so Mr. Chairman, it's just a single amendment. After line 48 of the engrossed bill, insert that the provisions of this act shall become effective on July 1st, 2025.
Okay. To have a motion to move that amendment, please?
So moved.
To have a second? The properly moved amendment. All in favor, you sign saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you so much. Yes, ma'am, please.
Thank you, sir. Oh, no?
Yes, ma'am. Don't pay them to my. I want you to know they're good Republicans, but they're all right.
Thank you. So, House Bill 2454 relates to maintaining the voter registration list. As we all know, Virginia is a very mobile population. Right now, there are 19 military bases located in Virginia. 12 military bases are located in Washington, D.C., and we are fortunate to have 48 universities in this state. All this adds up to a very mobile population. According to the latest calculations from the census data that I have from 2019, it also noted that Richmond and Norfolk were among the top 15 most transient mid-sized cities in the United States. As all of us know here very well today, elections have actually become a year-long event. With the addition of 45 days of early in-person absentee voting per election cycle, primaries, and an average of 3 special elections each year, Virginians are basically voting nonstop. A monthly national change of address list maintenance process will help us to meet the challenge of maintaining the voter residency qualification more efficiently than the current process does. This bill works within the perimeters of what is already permitted, clarifies the language of the code, and distributes the task in manageable pieces for our registrars and their staffs. I hope that you will look favorably and report this bill.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Question from the committee. Question from the committee. Anyone present in support of this, please come forward. 30 seconds, please.
Hi, Chairman, members of the committee. I really hope that you will...
By the way, what's your name, please?
Yes, thank you, sir. My name is Lindsay Zaya. I'm with the Virginia Institute for Public Policy. We stand in support of HB 2454. This is a really good bill. It does, like the good delegate said, takes a process that's already in place, helps the registrars out by making the process more frequent, and we're really hoping that this workload will relieve a lot of that burden. They work really hard, and we would like to help them. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Next, please.
My name's Mike. I'm from Goshen County, and by trade, I'm a computer engineer and software person, and it just drives people like me crazy when you have data that's inconsistent and wrong. So to help me out, I'd like the data to be consistent and correct. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next, please.
Hi, my name's Martha Cohen, and people don't usually think about this, but voter rolls are used for more than voting. They're also used to create the jury pool, and inaccurate voter rolls can lead to delays in jury selection and impacts the time it takes the clerk to find eligible jurors, which could delay a trial. There's no reason to delay justice even for a second, and I really appreciate this NCOA, but we shouldn't wait 2 years. There's no reason to wait 2 years to do what's right.
Thank you, ma'am. Next, please.
Clara Wheeler, Albemarle County. I'd like to thank the delegate for bringing this. I've spoken to many registrars, certainly not 130, but many, who support this bill. They want the ability to have incremental data brought instead of a once a year or even twice a year data download when they don't know when it's coming. This bill would provide regularity, predictability, and a workload that the registrars can manage. Again, I would echo the previous speaker. It would be nice if we could implement it sooner rather than later.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Anyone present in opposition of this bill? Anyone present in opposition? If not, up here, all minds clear. As amended, is that right? As amended, is that right? Open the roll, please.
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry. I have a substitute motion to
Yes, sir.
PBI. Speaking of the motion.
We have a second first. We have a motion second to PBI. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't. It seems to me that like changing this from once every 2 years to every 30 days is a lot of work. I'm not really clear how necessary it is at this time. I don't think we need to do this. Okay. Sorry.
Open the roll, please. PBI.
Ayes 8, noes 6.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Was that gently PBI'd?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yes, very, very gently. Very gently.
Dad. What I got next? What's left? Batten.
Yeah, Batten's got one more bill. Yeah.
Is that House Bill 1910, I believe?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Good afternoon again. Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, House Bill 1910 has 4 components. This bill requires organizations that are sending unsolicited absentee applications, and by organizations that would include us as candidates as well, if our campaign committees are sending those, to provide information on how to actually complete and submit the absentee ballot application. Also requires that the mailing envelope must clearly state that the application is not being sent by a government entity. requires that these forms be sent only to individuals who have not already requested an application, and it prohibits third parties from pre-filling the forms with the voters' information. This bill was adjusted on the House floor, amended on the House floor to clarify that does not apply to individuals. So if an individual would like to send absentee ballot applications to all of their friends, they would not be precluded from doing so by this bill.
Thank you. Question from the members of the committee.
Chairman, I got a question.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Delegate Batten, I'm aware of many, both candidates and also organizations that do these types of things all the time. They've been doing it for years. I believe Senator Marsden's special election back in 2010 in the winter, I remember him doing it back then. I mean, what's the problem with this?
Sure. So the problem is that there are multiple organizations that are sending them out repeatedly to people who have actually already received their absentee ballot application. And so the registrars are receiving many applications within their office. So you obviously only get one ballot. So even if you send in an application 75 times, they're still only going to mail you one ballot. However, it's a lot of extra work for the registrars to go through and double check and make sure that, they're not receiving they have to basically go in and look and say, well, you've already requested an absentee ballot, and certainly add some confusion for voters as well.
Thanks.
Question from the committee? Question from the committee. Those who are present to speak on behalf of this bill, please come forward.
Mr. Chairman, members
Yes,
of the committee, David Bailey with the Voter Registrars Association of Virginia. We support the bill and think it would help avoid some confusion. With the permanent absentee option, I think that the number of times where this could create confusion will even increase over the years. And so by the provisions of this act, we think it would be extremely helpful. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next, please.
Deb Wake, League of Women Voters of Virginia. We support this bill. It does not prevent any third party from furnishing absentee ballot applications to voters, but does install guardrails to make it clear to anyone receiving the application this is not an official mailing. Voters who already applied for an absentee ballot application object to receiving these mailings, and many are alarmed when they receive partially pre-filled forms. This bill resolves those issues.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Anyone in opposition of this bill? One time? In opposition?
Mr. Chairman, I have a substitute motion.
Substitute motion?
I have a substitute motion to PBI the bill.
Do I have a second? Second. I have substitute motion to PBI the bill. Open the roll, please.
Ayes 9, noes 5.
Ayes 9, noes 5. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee.
Okay, what we got next here?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have
What's your name, please?
Delegate Karen Greenhall.
I know it. I just want to make sure they know it. Thank you, ma'am.
And my bill is 1377.
1377?
Yes, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
So this one is really simple. This is pertaining to voter roll accuracy. Right now, a voter's registration can be canceled anytime within the year that the registrar gets the information that someone has moved or passed away, which was fine when we only had one-day election cycles, but now with the 45-day multiple election cycles, it should be done more often. This bill simply says that they will be removed from the rolls within 7 days.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Members of the committee, any questions? Anyone present?
Mr. Chair?
Yes, ma'am.
So may I ask a question of the patron?
Yes, ma'am.
So, Delegate, 7 days. So my spouse passes away. I am required by law to keep it in my mind that they've passed away, and I have to go then report. What happens if, for some reason, it does not occur to me, or we never get around to it? What would happen at that point?
Yeah, that's a good question. Thank you. So last year, the General Assembly passed a law simply saying that Vital Statistics would send monthly that sort of information to the Department of Elections. But what we didn't do was say that the registrars had to update it on a regular basis. And we found out this is actually happening in my neighborhood, in my area. It's only being done occasionally. And with the vote, with the election cycles we have, it just should be more accurate.
Thank you. Members, question from the committee, members? If not, anyone in the audience in support of this bill, please come forward. Anyone in opposition, please come forward.
League of Women Voters of Virginia opposes this bill because it could inadvertently disenfranchise voters because the 7-day time frame does not give registrars enough time to check the accuracy of the information. Instead, this bill could compel registrars to rely on databases that are not up to date. Registrars might have to rely on information from other states without following the process required in the National Voter Registration Act. Furthermore, the Virginia Code is confusing enough with different timelines in different sections. The law already says the registrar must cancel the registrations promptly. Dictating the specific time window could cause problems. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else in opposition?
Substitute motion.
Substitute motion.
Move to pass by indefinitely.
Do I have a second? Second. Been properly moved and seconded to PBI to bill. Open the roll, please.
Ayes 8, noes 6.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, sir. Those, I believe. Wait a minute, hold a minute. Has he had a bill? This your first one coming for us, please? Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Delegate Otto Waxman here to present House Bill 2234. 2234 merely takes away the same-day voter registration, takes it back to 3 weeks before, like the law had been previously. This is a bill I bring to you as a request of several constituents of mine who are concerned about voter integrity issues. We represent a very rural district. I've also had discussions with some of the poll workers, and when more people started coming in to do same-day voter registration, other than the ones that had been previously allowed to, those are still allowed to in the bill. People like military, those who've been overseas for a while. It has created quite a workflow issue on some of these rural voting precincts that has created some issues.
All right, thank you, sir. Members of the committee, any questions? Members, anyone present will speak in behalf of the bill. Please come forward. 2 minutes, please.
This is for the senators, please. I support Bill 2234. I'm an Loudoun County election officer, Shelley
What's your name,
Oberlander.
please? What's your name?
Shelley Oberlander.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Chairman. There's 364 other days that people can register to vote. Election day is unique. The thing about election day is you have to vote in your precinct. And so the election officers not only have to register the voters, which takes time away from getting the ballots and the regular voters checked in. It increases lines and time, but it's very difficult to verify if the voter's in the correct precinct. And that's the unique problem with same-day voter registration as well. It increased in Loudoun County the amount of provisional ballots by 7 times. We usually have about 300. We had about 2,200 provisional ballots because of same-day registration, and then our registrars had to work the entire weekend to try to verify if those voters were eligible. I think it's interesting in the past bill, everybody said 7 days was too long to decide if someone had deceased and should be removed from the roll, and that they want to verify that the person is eligible to vote in that precinct within just a few minutes on election day when it's already busy and chaotic. So I support Senator Waxman's bill. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Anyone else present in support of the bill? Anyone present in opposition of the bill? Please come forward.
Wake, League of Women Voters of Virginia, we oppose the bill. We think that same-day voter registration allowed thousands of eligible voters who were able to register and vote and cast their ballots without incident. Because the newly registered voters voted provisionally, registrars were able to verify the voters, weeding out any who were, for example, in the wrong precinct. And election day, same-day voter registration was successful overall and should not be denied. And as an election officer, we did not see long lines where I worked.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Substitute motion.
Second.
Properly move and second to be PBI to bill. Open the roll, please.
Ayes 9, noes 6.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much for allowing me to present.
Ms. Cardozo, what bill you have, sir?
I have two. I have HB 2257 and HB 2324. And at the committee's pleasure, I'll do either one.
2257? I don't see, I have 2257. What's the other one?
2324.
Okay. Let's do 2257 first, if you don't mind.
All right. Absolutely. So HB 2257 will make an exception for district-based and ward-based restrictions for small localities, for populations under 25,000. This particular section was made for larger cities who had a problem with representation based on a ward-based, district-based system that does not apply to smaller towns. This puts a very heavy burden on very small towns. They have a lot of ballots, and it doesn't affect the representation in any way. And I would just ask for that exception to be put in so that small towns would be able to process their elections in a more efficient manner, and it will not affect representation.
Thank you, sir. Question from the committee?
Mr. Chair?
Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you. So I live in a small town, less than 25,000 people. Can you help me understand exactly how my town election would change then if your bill were to pass?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Senator Boysko. So it wouldn't affect your town if your town does not have a ward-based or district-based system for local elections. There's only a few who have that, and they were affected by this.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, ma'am.
Do we have anyone, is there someone here from one of those towns who was unhappy with that change?
They're not here, and unfortunately Zoom is no longer permitted in the Senate, but our former member, former delegate, Gordon Hessel, and now mayor of Poquoson, has asked me, along with the Poquoson City Council, has asked me to bring the bill because it has caused quite a bit of confusion and cost that is simply unnecessary.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
if I have a question to the patron, if I look at the bill online, it looks like the only thing you are changing is from 35,000 to 25,000. Is that correct?
That would be the population at which the exception would count. This bill would make the exemption for those towns.
Oh, so is this a new? Was there, Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
So maybe staff can help, council can help me.
Yeah,
It
Mr.
looks like
Chairman.
there's a pre-existing bill, is there not?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, Senator Peake, the way the House does their amendments, they scratch out the amendment. So they scratch out the amended language and put in the new language. So what you're seeing is in italics with a population in excess of, and then the House made an amendment to the introduced bill and struck 35,000 and replaced it with 25,000, and then still in italics persons. So the italics part is the entirety of the bill, but there was an amendment in the House that changed it from 35 to 25.
Well, so what's Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
Is the current law lines 13 through 25, and all this bill is doing is changing it from 35,000 to 25,000, or are lines 13 through 25 changing the entire current law?
Mr. Chair, lines 13 through 25 represent the section that is currently in law. The new language that Delegate Cardozo's bill would add is on line 15, starting with a population in excess of 25,000 persons.
So, Mr. Chair.
All that would be inserted.
Yes, sir.
And council. So am I correct in that the only thing this bill does is change the population from 35,000 to 25,000?
Mr. Chair, Senator, the bill inserts the entirety of with a population in excess of 25,000 persons, so it adds the whole exception.
Okay. In our city or town, that imposes.
So
Mr. Chair.
if I could answer.
Mr. Chair. Okay, please.
Oh.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
So, as I understand this, the point of the bill that you're trying to change was you either have a district-based system or you have award-based system, but that if you have people who represent a portion of a town or city, then those people who live in that portion of the town should vote for the person that represents them, rather than having, and I'll just say east and west. Let's say you have people in western Poquoson choosing who will represent eastern Poquoson. That was the whole point, was that the people who will be represented by that person get to choose that person, not people who will not be represented by that person. And that underlying public policy shouldn't matter how many people are in the locality.
So Mr. Chair, Senator McClellan, I would answer and say it was not in that form. So really what it was is that they had voting districts just for the sake of a precinct, but the people who were elected were all at large. That's the problem. So they didn't elect based on the district at all. They were all at large. This put an end to any at large in the ward-based system that caused a lot of problems, because it wasn't that district, and I will say there was 3 districts in Poquoson. It wasn't that the Eastern District was voting for the Central District representative. It was that they all voted for the all at-large representatives that was the entire city council and the mayor.
But Mr. Chair?
Yes, ma'am.
If I am reading the italicized language and the non-italicized language correctly, the law now says that if you have a district-based or a ward-based residency requirement for members of the city council, then only the voters in that district or ward would be voting for them. Right? Is that right, Brooks?
Mr. Chair, Senator McClellan, under current law, that is correct.
And the reason we did that was because we want the people who will be represented by that person to be the ones that vote for them. And that shouldn't matter. The number of people in the town doesn't alter that public policy goal.
Mr. Chair, Senator McClellan, I will respond by saying, if you have a small town, so one of the provisions that cause problems is that because if you change it to everyone has to vote for a district representative, that person has to live in that district.
Then why?
The issue is, in a small town, you won't have that many candidates who live in that district. So now you flip the entire, everything's messed up, because most of the people who wanted to run, because it's a small town, people don't want to run. They want to go to work. They don't want to do this. So now you have to find some candidate from this area where there was never one before, because everyone was at large. And now you have to have someone who lives there, and it's very hard to find someone who actually will take the seat, because no one wanted to take the seat from that area, which is why they were all at large and there were no district-based, because the districts were just so that they could handle the number of people voting at certain precincts. That was the point that the small towns used to even create districts in the first place, just for that.
Follow-up question, Mr. Chair?
Yes, ma'am.
Why wouldn't they just go to an at-large system?
Because if they did, Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
Senator McClellan, if they were to do that, then they wouldn't be able, they'd have to have one precinct. And they'd have to have charter changes and things like that that would, one, require a large majority to make that change. It's not a simple change, at least in the House. I'm not sure about the Senate. That's not a simple change. It's simpler to do this, and it's more helpful to do this. It will require a lot more to go the other way, and it may not pass, and they'll still be in the same problem.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, question.
What this is doing.
Could you tell us how many towns fall into this category with the change? Or how many wards would be affected?
Mr. Chair, Senator Bell, I'm not sure about wards. I could tell you how many cities and towns that I know of that would be affected. It would be the city of Poquoson, Hopewell, and Waynesboro.
Mr. Chairman, follow up?
Yes, sir.
So the other question I had was, we talked about additional requirements and expenses.
Do you have any kind of, a number, an average? I mean, what was the requirement or the levy on these locations to quantify it?
So, if I remember correct, Mr. Chair, Senator Bell, if I remember correctly, it went from 3 different ballots to 12 different ballots. Caused a lot of confusion. Voters didn't know who they were voting for. They'd never heard of people. It was a large mess. Of course, they had to spend money on those ballots. When 3 ballots forever was not as expensive, and it was routine. Now it's 12 ballots. It's a big mess, and people don't know who they're voting for. A lot of people just turned away because they didn't know, and just it discouraged voter interaction.
Mr.
Thank you.
Chair.
And Mr. Chair, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Did somebody else want to go
I'm
first?
sorry, go ahead, Ply. I'm sorry.
Okay, I do have my light on. Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
Mr. Chair, so
Where's she going, or am
you
I
did want to
going?
go. You go. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
Mr. Chair, and so Council Brooks, I got to tell you, it's 4 words, 5 words, and I'm completely at a loss of what we're doing. So is what the purpose of this bill means that if you are fewer than 25,000, you no longer have a ward or district system? Is that what this is doing?
No. It would say that.
Somebody give me a simple explanation of what you're trying to do.
It will say that if you're a city or town that has a ward-based system, you no longer have the exception from this rule barring you from having at-large candidates. You can have at-large candidates with a ward-based system if you're under this amount of people. That's all it does. It provides that exception. Because currently under the law, you cannot have the at-large candidates if you have.
Wait a minute now. He's trying to. I'm trying to give him a chance to explain himself, and y'all talking cross him. Now let's don't do that. Yes, sir.
We've got ward-based with at-large currently in the city of Lynchburg. Correct? I know. So we got population 80,000. We have ward-based, and we have at-large. So if our population dropped to 24,000, what would happen?
I would say if you have, now we're not talking about mayors or.
We pick our mayor. So we have city council, we pick 4 at large, we have picked 3 at large, we have 4 in wards. And if our council, Mr. Chair, whomever, so if my population in Lynchburg drops to 24,000, what does this bill do to Lynchburg?
So, Mr. Chair, Senator Peake, under current law, if you have a ward-based system, right, you are not legally permitted to have at-large city council or school board.
Well, wait.
That would, if that is going on under this law, it's illegal.
Okay.
Under this law.
Mr. Chair.
Stop. That's not right there. Stop. No more. Anyone in the public in support of this bill? Anyone in the public in support of this bill? No, wait a minute. Don't call nobody, because I'm trying to do a quorum and y'all are talking across me, and I want to get the delegate all the respect that's due him, and I want him to have the opportunity, and please, if you're cutting across him, I don't want it to happen. So be stopping from up here for a moment. I want to hear from the public now. Anyone present in support of this bill, please come forward. Since I can't get my colleagues to behave themselves up here, I'm going to try y'all to see if y'all do it.
I generally support the idea behind the bill.
Yes, sir.
I come from a small town, and I do see this problem where it's just hard to get somebody to run when you have a very small town. You have a hard time getting anybody to run. For example, in Salzburg, where I was from, I do think 25,000 is fairly large. Maybe that could be lowered, but generally, I can see the need for this in small towns.
Thank you so much, sir. Anyone else present in the audience want to speak for the bill? Anyone in opposition of the bill, please come forward. Anyone in opposition, please come forward.
My name is Denise Harrington, and I'm speaking from a personal perspective.
Wait a minute. Brooks, and Mr. Sons of Peaks, I'm trying to conduct a meeting.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Denise Harrington, and I'm speaking as an individual. I remember when the Hampton area decided to go to wards and district-based system, particularly wards, and that was to ensure, it's already been stated by your colleagues, in reference to that the people who live in that ward actually will represent them. I'm a little bit concerned when I see exemption from, and it's based on numbers. And so my concern is that this could lead to a free-for-all almost, where the people live in one area and then somebody maybe can come from another area and say, hey, I'm representing you, and as opposed to a district-based or ward-based. So that's why I'm opposing this, because I don't think it shouldn't be a numbers game. It should be about who represents you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Anyone else present in opposition of the bill?
Mr. Chair.
Wait a minute. Now, so make sure, because I'm going to give up here 2 minutes there. I want a motion. Senator McCullough, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't understand what this bill is trying to do other than what it will do. I don't know if this is what it's trying to do, but what it will do is lead to, in some areas, people voting for representatives of a particular ward who don't live in that ward. And what this says is basically, if you have a district-based or a ward-based residue requirements and you require the candidate to live in a district, then the voters of that district will vote for that person. What Delegate Cardoza said as to why this is necessary is because if you go to at-large, you can't have more than one precinct. That's actually not the case. The city of Alexandria has at-large, I think all of their council members are at-large, but they have multiple polling places. If the issue is that Poquoson doesn't want to do a charter change, that's the whole purpose of charter changes. You don't change a law to meet one specific town's need, and in doing so, create unintended consequences for other towns that may be similarly situated. And in doing so, undermine the entire public policy that led us to say, you either go at large, districts, or at large with districts, but if you have districts, only the people who vote in that district, who live in that district, will be able to vote for the person that will represent them. Because, and what your bill does is basically say, if you have wards or if you have districts and at large, then people who do not live in the district will decide who represents that district. And that is not good public policy.
All right. So wrap it up, then I'm going to call it for motion.
Okay. So, Mr. Chair, Senator McClellan, I will say that's not the issue that I'm trying to address is mainly that these small towns the issue is that the person who runs has to live in the district, and that these small towns don't have the number of people who want to run to fill the seats. So as one of the witnesses has said, I represent Hampton. Hampton has 65,000 people in it. It has plenty of people who want to run everywhere throughout the city. Poquoson has significantly less and do not have people who live in the district who want to run, and that's the issue. The issue is that we need people who want to run, and there's no law I can put out that will say, hey, we'll make people come in and run for office. That's the issue. We're trying to fill the seats, and these small towns don't have enough people who want to run to fill the seats according to this law.
Thank you so much, sir. I am ready for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I have a motion.
Yes, ma'am.
I move to gently PBI. I would suggest a charter change would be a better
I have a
solution.
motion to PBI. Do I have a second? Do I have a motion to PBI to have a second? Please open the roll.
Ayes 906.
Ayes 906. You have one more, sir?
Yes, I do.
All right.
I have HB 2324.
2324, yes, sir.
All right, so HB 2324 simply directs the Department of Elections the State Board of Elections, to propagate standards and instructions to conduct that will be done in case of a recount. Right now, there is no state standard. This is not putting in a state standard. This is directing the state board to establish a state standard so that if there is ever a recount, we've had recounts where it was decided by a flip of a coin, pull of a hat, and that's unacceptable for a Commonwealth to have. This will just simply direct them to establish a state standard that is known throughout the state and will be the state standard.
All right, thank you. Questions from members, comments from members of the committee?
Mr. Chair?
No, there is no. Oh, I'm sorry.
Having had a recount myself, I would appreciate that we have some consistency across the state.
All right. Comments from members of the committee or questions? Anyone in the audience present would like to speak on behalf of this bill? Anyone in the audience and speak in opposition of this bill? Did I hear a report on both sides? Ah, finally got some. Please open the roll.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Try to help a brother out.
Yes.
Ayes 15, no 0.
Is that it? Committee, thank you all so much. Bless your heart.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.